Okay, today, no issues. Um, I got a fun one I'm going to start with, and I will do questions if I have any, but I really feel like this will be a fun exercise for a lot of us to do. And when someone was talking about the exercise, and I hadn't thought about it in this context, so I wanted to get on and do my monthly Q&A if I have questions and share this fun little exercise. And the way to look at stuff. Because a lot of us hear the word program. You know, we hear it again and again and again, but we don't really know what that means, or how do I know what mine is? And we have lots of programs. Usually, let me preference that. We have very strong main programs that'll run, and then we have kind of offshoots of that program. Like if you're a victim, if you play victim energy, then you might play savior energy in another one. So you might play the polar opposite in one or the other, which makes reality feel different. But it's just the flip side of that. Like if you... So sometimes you might play the opposite of it, but it's still the same. It's still kind of the same one. But you're going to find you have main themes, and these are the ones that also are going to link you up to certain collectives. So there is a link between your program and your collective you're going to link up to. That's why when you start moving out of human reality, you start linking up to ascension collectives, you'll be clearing some ones at the same time. You'll be drawn to people who are talking about stuff that you can identify with. People who are talking about ascension, they might go into clearing... How do I want to say this? Clearing different types of really extreme trauma. Because some people experience really extreme trauma. Some people didn't experience that. So technically, like the human realities are all extreme trauma, but even trauma within the human realities. So you wouldn't really relate to that, because if you didn't go through that, you wouldn't relate to it. Now, if you did, you would relate to that. So there's a reason you're going to link up with people the way you link up to people, and people you're going to feel more drawn to than other people because their stories are similar. That is why you have so many people in different parts of ascension to draw people in, you know, to get people involved, to get people excited about it, and to get you really wanting to know more, activating your consciousness more, because there's so many people that really want to hone in on it. And when we're talking about ascension and awakening, it's activating people. You know, people get activated by the story. They get activated by the voice. They get activated by the light codes within the frequencies that are turning on. So all that kind of gets back to, you know, who you really want to listen to. And that changes as you go. There'll be some people you can listen to for a while, and then you can't listen to them at all. And that would also be any type of content. It doesn't have to be specifically higher consciousness content. A lot of times you can watch TV shows. You could watch certain things, and then you can't listen to them anymore. You can't watch them anymore, or you used to not be able to watch them and now you can. You're going to find heavy violence. Well, you'll have a hard time with that for a while, and then you can kind of let it back in again if you're watching a really violent TV show, because you get to a point where it doesn't affect your field anymore. But in the beginning, it will affect your field. And it's also to show you how much that stuff gets into your energy field and gets into your subconscious and affects you. So okay, so back to our exercise. How do I know what my program is? How do I know what is one of my main programs that I'm trying to clear? Why do these things keep repeating? What does it feel like it's a repeat? Why does it feel like a repeat, but I can't put my finger on the program to clear it? What am I getting out of it? Because we only go through realities repeatedly. We keep telling the same story because we're getting something out of it. So I was listening to Lisa Transcendence Brown, who's an excellent ascension teacher and master. So if you have not checked out her stuff, I highly recommend you go check out her stuff. She's got amazing stuff. But she was talking about writing down your relationships. You know, everyone you've ever had, and what role you played in it. And I think I probably touched on some of this before, just figuring out the roles you're playing. But if you write them down and see what role did I play, what role did they play. You can go through your friendships, you can go through your work relationships, your romantic relationships, and really hone in on, you know, wait a minute, was I the victim? Was I victimizing someone else? Was I standing in my power? Was I taking someone's power away? Which technically we can only do if they're not standing in their power. But what was my role? And when I heard it, I didn't have to write them down. I could just thumb through them pretty quick and see in every reality I was in, I always played the victim role. Everyone I was in, whether it was romantic, whether it was work, whether it was friends, at the end of the reality, and even in the middle, but really toward the end, especially when it started dissolving, but all through the reality, I was always more the subservient one in the reality and a victim in the reality, which to me was very interesting to really hone in on that. And a lot of people would ask, okay, if I can figure out what my main one is, like I said, we have a lot of main ones, but if I can figure out what this is, one of my big ones, you also see because you repeated it. It wasn't just in one reality you played it out. You played it out in all your realities. It was in every one you did. So you look at it and you say, okay, now I know what it is. Look if you're still playing it out. Because what you're also going to find is no matter how much you can clear of that program, when there's any left, you're still going to be playing it out. Even in your ascended realities, even in your when you're in your awakening, when you're in your ascension, you're still going to go back to that and to clear more of it and clear more of it and clear more of it. So if you're in that reality and you still can see it peeking through, whereas you could be in an ascendant state and all of a sudden you feel your body drop back down and you start being in a victim again. You know, you can be with anything. It can be with any body. And you can also see where you can't hold it and you revert back to the program. Whether it be you're with your parents and all of a sudden, oh shit, I'm going to go back in the program again. I'm going to go back in the story again. That I'm a victim. I'm going to go back into this. I'm going back into the program. Technically, yes, you're clearing the program more, but as soon as we can identify it, we're like, wait a minute, I'm not a victim here. Release the program. Reprogram, turn the story around, rewrite the story. Eventually you no longer need the story, but in the beginning we'll rewrite it enough and keep tweaking it to where, and basically you shift the frequency of the story. Whereas instead of being a victim, I was playing out victim energy here. I was releasing victim energy. Okay, well, that's an upgrade of the story. Still a story, but it's an upgrade of the story where I'm the victim and I didn't even realize I was the victim. So it's so important to be able to pinpoint it. And I could see right away where I was still playing that out. In a couple realities, with a couple people, I was like, I'm still going into that. I could still, even if I went into it for like a minute or 5 minutes and I'm ranting. Now, technically, I'm releasing victim energy when I'm ranting about it. But I can't honestly say I was consciously doing that. If we're consciously doing that and saying, hey, okay, I'm gonna rage about this, I'm gonna be pissed about this, I'm gonna get all this out right now, and I'll do it in front of a mirror, I'll do it in the bathroom by myself, I'm gonna bitch out this victim energy. If I was doing that consciously, knowing, okay, I'm gonna clear more victim energy, because it's just a story and it doesn't matter. But I wasn't doing it that way. I was really believing the whole thing all over again, that I'm really a victim in this reality. I'm not being respected in this reality. I'm being pushed aside in this reality. Those are the ones we really want to, well, we want to focus on all of them, but these are the telltale ones that will show you the biggest things we want to start to pick through. And if you can't get it by going through your relationships and trying to figure out the patterns, what you kept repeating. Remember, we're just repeating it to clear the program. It's just the hard way to clear the program. But that's why we keep repeating it. We keep playing out the same roles for that reason. If we get to a point where after a while we don't clear it and we keep setting in it, we go back to the setting in it energy I talked about the other day. What you're going to find is you will explode. Anger, rage, those are movement energies. They're going to get you moving. They're going to get you moving out of that reality. They're going to get you moving out of the reality, going the way you should have gone in the first place. That's what anger does. That's what anger comes up. It is a rage. It is just this molten lava spewing to move you and rocket you into a different direction. But if we let it get there, it's because we sat in it too long, in a sense. We didn't want to give the story up. We wanted to set in the story. Because even if you're a victim in the story, you still get something out of the story because people feel sorry for you. Because you're the victim in the story, right? And it gets attention. And that's what our human ego wants. It wants to be the victim. It wants to tell the story. It doesn't really matter what story we're telling. Every story we tell is something in it for our ego to get the attention back on us. Even if in that reality there was no attention on us. But if we tell the story and we're a victim in the reality, oh, now we have the attention back on us. So it's so important to really be able to hone in on that. And it can be a huge breakthrough for a lot of us when you can really see. Because if someone had asked me what role I played in every reality, I would say, okay, well, in this one I was this, and this one I was this. But if I really broke it down and I really went back to every reality and picked them apart, I played the victim every time. Every time I played the victim in the realities. And that is a massive breakthrough when we can really be honest with ourselves and not judge what program we're playing. What's going on? What's the undercurrent of it all? You know, what really got me to get out of that reality? I might have gone and repeated something similar to clear more programming later, but what was it that got me out? I'll always say, if people are screaming at each other, this reality is way out of alignment. We don't have to ask if it's out of alignment. We don't have to wonder if this shit is out of alignment. If people are screaming at each other and voices are raised, it is out of alignment. There's no ifs, ands, or buts around it. That's the end of that story. The question is, why do we let it get that far? Why do we continue to play in it? What was the point of us letting it go and letting it go and letting it go until we got to this point where, wow, now this is really so far out of whack at this point, I don't even know how to rein it back in. And sometimes at that point we can't. We're so full of anger and rage, we're not going to be able to rein it back in. We're not going to be able to bring it back down until we can get ourselves clear of that program. And that might take weeks, it might take hours, it might take minutes, depending on where we are with it. Then we can go back and engage. Our human wants to engage while we're pissed. It wants to use that fuel and take it to another breaking point, to break the reality. So it kind of spurs us on in that moment. But as we get more in touch with our programs and we're clearing more of them and we can see them and we can see when they start coming up, we get away from it. Meaning we don't engage when our emotions are high. That's when humans want to engage. That's kind of the fault. One of the fault is not the word I want to use. Let me see. What do I want to say here? It is the driving force of what gets the realities moved out. It clears the realities out because our humans will go on anger. It'll go on emotion. Anger's the big one that pushes it to clear out a reality. Right now. Technically, our higher aspects are going to be driving all of that. But when our human is in that moment, it just wants to go with that wave because it's giving us that momentum to push it forward and push it out. Whereas the more ascended we become in our consciousness and the more higher aspects we embody in and the less and less we operate from our programs and the more and more we've cleared those programs, we know we don't engage in that sense. I don't engage when I'm pissed. I don't engage when I'm pissed for different reasons. I don't engage when I'm pissed because, one, we're always angry at ourselves. We're never angry at the person we think we're angry with. We're always angry at someone else because we've allowed something to occur. We have compromised on a soul level and allowed a relationship to take place the way it has. We have not stood up for ourselves. We've not stood in our power. We have not done the things to align this reality on mutual respect and honest communication. You notice what's the word I'm trying to get to here? The similarities in everything I just said, we did not. We didn't do this. I didn't do this. This is all on me. It's not on the person I think I'm mad with. They're just playing out their role. In all of their realities, they might have played out a role where they were domineering over people. That might be the role they're playing out in all their realities. It might just be the one they're in with me. And in other ones, they were flip-flopping around. but I've allowed all that. So to get mad at another person, but our human at that time can't see that. It wants to project the anger at one person, because in the human realities, there's always going to be the aggressor. There's always going to be the person that's being taken advantage of. That's how a human pockets these realities. It's how it organizes them, right? There's no gray. People will say that there's gray. The human, there's no gray. Our human aspect sees no gray. It sees one way. It sees the other way. It's polar. It's polarizing. That's the only way it can see. If you start to see more nuances of different things, those are your higher aspects coming through, because your human can't see that. It's going to see that one way. It's going to see that one thing, and it's going to drive it. But when you get to certain spaces, you can take a step back. And when you can take a step back and really look at it, and that's why you have to kind of get away from it and not engage when you're from emotion. Your higher aspects will never engage from emotion. It's going to clear the emotion, then go back into reality. And if that takes if that takes 3 minutes, 3 hours, 3 months, it doesn't matter. Clearing it from your body, clearing that program, that piece of that program, that emotion from the body is way more important than bustling through that reality in that moment. It's way more important to clear it first, then enter back in. And then you can really look at this and say, okay, from your highest aspect, how can I align this? Can we have an open, honest discussion about what's going on? Or is this reality gotten so skewed that it can't be aligned? Or the other person doesn't want to be part of an aligned reality because that's not the part they want to play in the reality. That's not the role they want to assume. They don't want to be in a higher consciousness reality. They want to be in their reality. They want to be doing it from their perspective. And if their perspective is like this and now ours is like that, we already are not going to be able to mesh that reality together. But our human hates to let them go. So you'll see a lot of times you'll feel the anger come up, and you will see this in a lot of repeat realities where you get mad, you blow up, the human will then shrink back, let that blow over, because they don't really want to work through it. They let the anger blow over, go back into reality, but not letting letting the anger clear. It's more of a letting everything kind of go back down to a normal set point for what that human reality was. Everyone's engaging now how they were before the big blow up. Now we're going to just redo it again and get pushed again. What we don't see at the time is it's our higher aspects pushing us back in. But every time it gets a little worse because we didn't go through the entire clearing process. We didn't move the reality out on our own. Now we're going to go back in. We're going to engage again. It's going to blow up again, whether it be three minutes from that point, 3 months, 3 years, 30 years. It doesn't really matter. And all of a sudden, bam, there it is again. And it's even worse than last time because we didn't take the moment to align it when we had the time. Time's probably not the word. When we had the consciousness to. If we don't have the consciousness to align it, then we're going to go back and we're going to kind of get back into this quasi, oh wait, everything's okay again. We're all speaking again. No one seems to want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. So we're just going to go back in. But nothing has really changed. Has some anger cleared? Yes. Enough to change the reality? No. Now let me preference that with something else. Enough has cleared to up your vibration, even if it's a tick, to where when you enter back in now, when it blows up again, it's going to be worse. Because now it's even more removed from your current vibration. It's even more discordant to your current vibration, which is higher because you did clear some anger. So now we enter back in, and now it's even worse. Maybe not in the beginning. You know, we had that honeymoon phase where everyone's kind of tiptoeing around everybody because nobody wants to say anything about the big blow up that just happened. Nobody wants to talk about it. So you have that calmness in a sense until it all happens again because no one's really reset. No one has really shifted enough for this reality to change. It's just almost, and that's when we say it's the long way to clear because you could go through this in our human aspects. Going through this from your human aspect, driving it, look how long it would take you to get through it. And look how long it has taken you to get through realities like this, where it could be years and years and years until finally it gets so disrespectful, so discordant to where you are. It's so completely not you just can't align it. It's just, your frequencies are so different that the whole thing just explodes to the point where the whole thing just, the top blows off of it. But as our human, we'll go back in and go back in and go back in. Not letting anything reset, not discussing anything, just going back in, or we'll do the other way. We'll want to discuss it, and one or more of the people will say they're going to do everything different, and then it always goes back to the same. Now, why does that happen? Because people can touch on their higher aspects. They just can't hold them long periods of time if they haven't had enough of these programs clear. So yeah, they can be a higher aspect of themselves for that 15 minutes, but they can't hold that aspect. You know, that's why you see a lot when people break up and they'll say, well, this person got with another person immediately, and I mean, you know, they're being so different than they were with me. They're doing all the things I wanted them to do, and now they're doing it with this person over here. And if it's been immediately right after that, I would always say it's just, they're just showing them their higher aspects. They're not getting into the aspect that's actually the one that's in control. It's almost like a bait and switch. Eventually, they're going to go back down to the aspect of which, and also there's another part of that where in the beginning it's also rosy. They're higher aspects, they're more compassionate, they're more understanding, they're more all of these things. They're operating from a higher aspect. But when it starts to get bumpy, they're going to go back into the aspect that is kind of when the shit hits the fan. You know, they're going to go back into the aspect that is more dominant, and they can't hold that facade forever. And that's why you get that the saying, leopards don't change their spots. Human leopards don't change their spots because they don't give themselves any growth to change their spots. You know, growth does not come from the human aspect. It comes from pulling away from the human aspect. That's where the growth takes place. There's no growth within the human aspect. It's one way. And you will understand this more when you're oscillating between different aspects, that when you're in your human, you can feel it. And you realize it's the same story. It hasn't changed the story. It hasn't changed what it says. It's always saying the same thing. But it starts to be more obvious that it is always saying the same thing. And when there's something else coming through, when those are those shades of gray coming through, that's coming from a higher aspect. It is not coming from your human aspect. So, okay. I think that's a good leeway in today, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else I can bring into that. If not, I'm going to make this a short one today. When we're in anger, when we're in obsession, when we're in any of these really powerful, strong, jealousy's another one, rage, you know, when we're in any of these super strong energies, they are meant to move us in one direction or the other. They're meant to get us to move. They are movement energies, and that is why they're there. The question is, what way does it want you to move? Why do we not want to go in that direction? Why do we not want to go in that direction in the first place? We talk about anger being kind of propelling us in the direction we should have gone. The question is, why didn't I go that way to begin with? You know, what was it when I knew I should probably go that way, I went the other way? You know, why did I not go that way when I could have gone that way? And those are the questions to start to ask. If we don't ask these questions of ourselves, no one else is going to ask us. No one else holds us to task but us. We're the ones that hold ourselves in check. And that's really what Ascension is also. It's holding ourselves in check. It's holding ourselves to our highest. It's holding ourselves accountable for what we do and what we don't do. What we don't do is just as big as what we do do. What do we not want to do? What do we not want to face? What do we not want to say, oh yeah, I guess I do play that out. I am playing out that energy. I can see that now. Can we really see that? Can we really see where we are playing out energy that and playing out roles over and over and over again because we're getting something out of it? but we don't know what they are. Oh. Hey, little man. God, I thought I heard something. I guess that's my cue. All right. Hopefully that will assist everyone, and I will see everyone on my next live. Bye.